5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You blitz all night. And if they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm going to take every last one of you out.
Hey, the blitz is coming, boys.
What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of The Blitz, where we give you the latest and greatest in fantasy football news, injury reports, starts and sits, you name it, we got it in 5 minutes or less. So in this episode, we got to highlight some of the best performers from week 4. If you've had these guys in your lineup, you're probably sitting pretty. So if you have, or I'll put it like this, if you had these guys in your lineup, you're sitting pretty. If you went up against these guys, it might be a little iffy. You might be catching that L from week 4, and you might be carrying it on to week 5. I know I've caught a couple of them. I was fortunate enough, but I'm not going to give any spoilers. We'll get right into the episode. But first, make sure that you're locked in with the Fantasy's Phinest podcast YouTube channel, because the Blitz will be on there Monday through Friday, every day of the week. We're doing a daily podcast, just 5 minutes, so you can get the latest and greatest. And you can follow us on our social medias at Fantasy's Finest, whatever your flavor is. If it's TikTok, if it's YouTube, if it's Twitter, at Fantasy's Finest, you can follow us there. So let's get right into the episode, because we have a little bit of news. There has been some developments with Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers, 49ers running back. He's recently gone to Germany to get treatment on his Achilles tendonitis. Now, he's expected to come back to the U.S., and he's supposed to begin running on grass as part of his recovery. Now, there have been a few different storylines or reports coming out of this. There has been Christian McCaffrey having tendonitis, Achilles tendonitis, in both of his legs, and that was one of the major notes coming out. Now he's expected to, that is either that he had it on his one leg, now it's in 2 legs, his way of life is in jeopardy, or there's just been so many reports coming out that we don't really know what the facts are. Hopefully, another report was that he's supposed to be able to come back in early November to return to football and be able to take over that lead role for the 49ers. Until then, Jordan Mason is going to be the guy, so don't drop him just yet. As a matter of fact, I probably wouldn't drop Jordan Mason even if Christian McCaffrey comes back. We don't know if the treatment will take, if he has a flare-up or anything like that. So if you have Christian McCaffrey, don't drop him yet. If you can try and trade him, if you want to, that might be an option as well. But if you do have Jordan Mason, do not drop him. Even if Christian McCaffrey comes back, you probably just want to keep him on your bench. Now let's get into these week 4 studs. These 3 guys have led the way at their positions in fantasy football in week 4. And first of all, I got to talk about Houston Texans wide receiver Nico Collins. Now, in the offseason, there were people talking about Nico Collins not being drafted at his ADP. He was going inside the top 10 among drafted fantasy wide receivers, but he is currently cooking. He roasted the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 4, 12 of 15 for 151 yards and a touchdown against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He put up 33.1 fantasy points. He's currently the wide receiver 2 for fantasy heading into week 5. If you manage to get Nico Collins, you might have had to reach for him a little bit in your leagues because, like I said, he was being drafted as a top 10 wide receiver, but he's certainly living up to the bill. This is one of the better drafts for fantasy football among wide receivers, especially when you consider some of the injuries that have gone around, like to Puka Nacua, to Cooper Kupp, to Tua Tagovailoa, whose impact is being felt by not having him on the field. Tyreek Hill and Jaden Waddle are suffering as well. So Nico Collins, you did your thing in week 4 for fantasy managers, and I'm glad I have you on my fantasy team. Next up, we got to talk about this guy because he's low-key been having a great fantasy season. Justin Fields, he performed well against the Indianapolis Colts, threw for 34 pass attempts against the Colts. Hopefully a sign that they're willing to throw the ball a bit more. But he also put down 55 yards rushing on the ground, 22 for 34, 312 yards, 3 total touchdowns, and 32 fantasy points against the Colts. Great performance. He's likely your top QB in week 4. He's currently a top 10 quarterback heading into week 5. He's averaging 18.4 fantasy points per game. And if he's still on the waiver wire, you might consider picking him up because with all the injuries that have happened and low performances from some of our top end guys at quarterback, you might want to grab Justin Fields and put him in your lineups. And to round up the episode, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about Derrick Henry. This dude went bananas on the Buffalo Bills. 24 attempts, 199 yards. He was just this close to getting that 200-yard game. He ended up fumbling on the goal line, but he still gave you 2 total touchdowns, 35.9 fantasy points against the Buffalo Bills. Running back 3 on the season. He's giving you 23.4 fantasy points per game. Derrick Henry is crushing all the wash notions that were going around this offseason. Derrick Henry is certainly not washed, and he's proving it this season with the Baltimore Ravens. He's doing his thing. He's leading the league in rushing yards. He's outstanding. And if you probably got Derrick Henry at a steal price too, somewhere in the 2nd to 3rd round. Derrick Henry is living up. He's outperforming his ADP right now. And it's just a great thing to see. Derrick Henry is certainly not washed. But that's our time, 5 minutes or less. Thank you for checking out the show. Like I said before, make sure you lock into the YouTube channel at Fantasy's Phinest and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode of our podcast, our regular show, and the Blitz. 5 minutes or less, we got you covered. Stay tuned for the next episode.
Yo, come back now, you hear?